Alright, let's dive into something that's been bubbling up in Oregon lately, and trust me, it's more fascinating than it sounds. So, a group of 16 Oregon Democrats just called for a comprehensive audit of the state's public employees' retirement fund. Sounds like a snooze fest, right? Wrong. What makes this really interesting is the why behind it. These lawmakers aren't just asking for a routine checkup, they're pointing out that the last full audit was 10 years ago. 10 years ago. In my opinion, that's a massive oversight, especially when you consider the fund is supposed to be audited every 4 years by law. So, what's been going on in the meantime? Well, that's the million-dollar question. Here's the kicker. The lawmakers are specifically concerned about the fund's heavy reliance on private equity investments. We're talking 27% of the portfolio at one point, which is wild. Personally, I think this raises a deeper question: why did the fund lean so heavily on private equity in the first place? And more importantly, what's the impact of that decision? According to reports, this strategy cost the fund $1.4 billion in 2024. That's not just a number, that's real money that could have been used to secure retirements for public employees. What many people don't realize is that private equity is often riskier and less transparent than public investments, and when it goes wrong, it can go really wrong. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. The lawmakers aren't just stopping at private equity. They want the audit to look at how the fund is handling investments in light of major global trends, think AI, climate change, geopolitical threats, and even medical advances. From my perspective, this shows a forward-thinking approach. It's not just about fixing past mistakes, it's about preparing for the future. If you take a step back and think about it, pension funds are supposed to be stable, long-term investments. So, why aren't they being managed with an eye toward these massive, world-changing forces? One thing that immediately stands out is the mention of investments in companies like Geo Group, CoreCivic, and Palantir. These are companies involved in immigration detention centers and surveillance technology. Now, I'm not here to debate the ethics of these companies, but what this really suggests is that pension funds aren't just about returns, they're also about values. What many people don't realize is that these funds are often invested in ways that align with the state's broader policies. So, when a state invests in controversial companies, it's essentially saying, we're okay with this. That's a big deal, and it's something more people should be talking about. What makes this story even more compelling is the timing. The lawmakers met with Treasurer Elizabeth Steiner back in December 2025 to discuss these issues, and yet, here we are, still calling for an audit. It raises the question, why hasn't this happened already? In my opinion, it's a mix of bureaucracy, inertia, and maybe even a bit of political reluctance to rock the boat. But the fact that these lawmakers are pushing for it now shows that they're not willing to let it slide. And honestly, that's refreshing. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just an Oregon issue. Pension funds across the country are grappling with similar challenges: how to balance risk and return, how to adapt to a rapidly changing world, and how to ensure transparency and accountability. What's happening in Oregon could be a bellwether for other states. Personally, I think this is a story that deserves more attention. It's not just about numbers and audits, it's about the people whose retirements depend on these funds, and the broader implications for how we manage public money. So, here's my closing thought: what if this audit uncovers something even bigger? What if it reveals systemic issues in how pension funds are managed nationwide? That's a detail I find fascinating, and is why I'll be keeping a close eye on this story. What do you think? Is this just a local issue, or does it have broader implications? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into stories that matter.